Senior Vice President. And we're also pleased to have UT System President Randy Boyd with us again today. We'll be sharing his thoughts on the university's accomplishments, upcoming legislative session, and some exciting plans. But first, we'll have an update on COVID-19 cases within the university, the institute, and across the state. And we'll be sharing some work arrangement guidelines. But a few reminders: remember to keep your audio muted. Use the chat function on Zoom to ask any questions. You can publicly post your question in chat, or you can send it privately to me. A recording of this session will be made and posted to the UTIA coronavirus website, and you can find that link on our homepage at utia.tennessee.edu. So we'll jump right in. Tim, how does the case count currently look for the university, the institute, and even the state?
Well, for the first time in a little while, I feel good about some of the data I'm going to share. So that should give you a preview of what's to come. Thanks for kicking us off again, Lisa. You've gotten way too good at kicking off fireside chats, and that comes through a lot of practice. So I appreciate it. Thanks to Mark Young for being our technical guru today as well. We miss Mike Stanley, but appreciate Mark providing support for us. Let me jump in and quickly go through our slides today, give you a feel for where we're at, both across campus and across the country for that matter, and certainly here in Tennessee as well, and then look forward to hearing from Randy in just a few minutes. I'll start with, again, the typical slide series that we've been looking at, same data series, but remember that as we get into this later time period, there were a few weeks omitted from our series when the university was closed. But as we look at current active positive cases across the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, and Institute of Ag, today we're looking at 90 positive cases among students and 18 positive cases total among all of our employees. And that looks a little bit of increase maybe from the past couple of weeks. But remember, too, that students return to campus about the 20th of January, and note that the increase has been very modest, relatively speaking, since that return. Compare that to what we saw last summer, late last summer, early fall, when we saw, obviously, a huge spike in cases. So that tells me a couple of things. First of all, students are really contributing their part in terms of following all of our guidance. They're doing the right things, and hopefully it means maybe there's a little bit of a reduction in transmission across those students and employees on our campus. If you look at isolations, it's much the same story. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but currently we've got 229 students who are isolated for either positive cases or direct contacts with others, and 59 employees total. So really approximately the same level that we've seen the last several weeks, and in levels that go back to early fall, in terms of comparability. So that all looks quite good. Same story for our institute. Our number of positive cases today is 5 across the entire institute. And that compares back to last fall and last summer, really, is when we last saw numbers that low. So great job, folks, for doing the right things and helping us to keep our employee count very low across the Institute of Ag campus. And same thing for isolations as well. We're currently at about 13, and you'd have to go back to last fall or even last summer to see numbers at that level. So the direction looks good, and we're really pleased to see that improvement in terms of number of cases. And that follows what we're seeing nationally as well in terms of the number of positive daily cases. We've seen a steady decline since I visited with you last, early in January. And nationally, we're certainly seeing some significant improvements from 250,000 cases a day around the first of the year to now closer to 100,000 cases per day. It's 100,000 more than we want, but it's at least going in the right direction. And you see the very same thing with regard to the state data. So we've dropped from a peak of about 8,000 cases per day back at the first of the year or so. Actually, I guess our peak was a little bit earlier, more like mid-December in Tennessee. And currently we're down closer to that 2,000 case per day level, which is approximately where we were again midsummer to early fall. So great progress in terms of a reduced number of cases. Now, I don't share any of that, what I think is positive news, with the purpose or intention of suggesting we let up in any way. So what I do want to do, though, is indicate that it looks like we're seeing some improvement. And let me just touch on one other set of data here, and this is with regard to vaccinations. Currently in the state of Tennessee, we've seen that 757,000 plus members of the Tennessee population have been vaccinated at least once, and that represents almost 7.8% of the population. And this was data as of yesterday. So we're approaching 10% of the population with vaccinations, and that's certainly good news as well. Yesterday, it looks like 12,000 people vaccinated. We'd love to see that number increase, and I think as vaccine availability increases, we will see increases in that as well. So that kind of gets hopefully everyone on the same page and up to speed with regard to COVID data and those key metrics that we've been following.
So Tim, are there any changes in guidance for our employees, particularly in terms of staffing?
Yeah, I think, again, for right now, we're going to maintain status quo. We're going to keep all our offices open. Obviously, we're going to keep using a staggered or a rotational staffing approach. Those that can work at home should do so, but make sure you're staying in touch with your supervisor. And supervisors, make sure you're staying in touch with employees. We want to make sure we all know what we're doing, that we're carrying out our responsibilities, that we're serving our students, our stakeholders in whatever their needs are according to our mission. So we also, though, don't want everybody back on board simultaneously. We're not ramping up at this point. We'll just carry on as we have been. It's worked well since the first of the year, and I think we'll stick with it. Let me also, though, remind you to track the progress of vaccinations in your county. Contact your county health department when vaccine is available and when you meet either the age or risk-based vaccination criteria that are established. And remember, you can check on that county by county at the state of Tennessee's website under vaccine information. And you can also remember that there's a link off of our COVID-19 website to that information. So keep track of that. Those of you that can get your vaccinations whenever possible, and let's keep everyone safe.
Well, thanks so much for that update, Tim. And it's really good to see some good news, at least some positive trends. That's great. We're also pleased to have a special guest with us today who I know you'd like to introduce.
Yeah, sure would. And, Randy, I'd like to say this all worked out just as planned, because I believe any of you that know President Boyd well know that he's one of the most positive people in this organization. And I'm glad to kick things off with some positive news too. And I know that Randy will follow up with some great information for us. Appreciate, Randy, your interest in joining us again on our Fireside Chat and sharing a few updates from the system perspective, as well as maybe your thoughts on the state budget outlook at this point too.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. And I just was looking at the 5 things I was going to touch on in the 10 minutes you gave me to talk. And actually, every one of them are positive. Surprise, imagine that. So I will continue with the positive news. But I want to start off with just saying thank you. One, thank you for letting me join. I was exchanging some chats with Hong Wei a moment ago. I do wish we were in person around a real fire, but this will have to do. But it's great to see so many people that I've gotten to know over these last couple of years. Great to be with you. Thank you, Tim, and for your leadership and the entire leadership at the UTIA. You guys have done a tremendous job. And then finally, thank you to everybody at the Institute for just an incredible year. You know, I've done some surveys with students. I've seen some surveys from many of you. I've got to talk with many of you, and I'll talk a moment about all the great things we did last year. And we accomplished an amazing amount of good in a very difficult year. But I also know, and I want to make sure you know that I know that it was hard. It was hard on our students. It was hard on our faculty. The sense of isolation and a high level of depression with a lot of our students. There's a lot of angst out there. And so I'm conscious of it. We're conscious of that. And we know we've got to work really hard to try to find ways to have people connect. One of the things that I hear a lot from from people outside the university is, well, gosh, I bet you guys have really learned a lot about how to do everything digitally and that you really didn't need to do in-person classes. Isn't that going to change? I guess there was a certain part of that that's true. We have learned how we can do things more efficiently digitally, but at the exact same time, we've also learned how much we need each other. I hear it all the time. We just want to be together. We want to be sitting by that same fire together and enjoy each other's company. There's something about humans that want that connectivity, that social interaction. And so while we could do certain things more efficiently without ever seeing each other, that's not the way we want to live our life. And we're determined to try to get us back to that. Back to the 2020, this may not be the first time you've heard me say this, but this will be the greatest decade in the history of the University of Tennessee. Last year was our first year. And a lot of people would say, well, that was a really terrible first year to the start of the greatest decade, but I'd argue differently. Last January, we set out some really significant objectives for us to accomplish in 2020. I even had one of my board members, this hard-charging CEO from AutoZone, Bill Rhodes, who said, Randy, I think your objectives are a little too ambitious. And I was thinking afterwards, first, of course, I was defensive. No, we can do all this. But then I was thinking, how many times do hard-charging CEOs accuse higher education of being too ambitious? But here's the good news. We got to report to them about 2 weeks ago that we accomplished every single thing that was on our list, plus some. And in addition to that, well, actually, maybe a couple that I should highlight. One of the goals was to increase enrollment. We increased enrollment at UT in Knoxville with UTIA and the Knoxville campus by 5.2%. That's an incredible increase on any given year, but nationally, public higher education decreased by 16%. So nationally, they increased by 16%. UT increased by 5.2%. That's incredible success. I know it's a lot of work recruiting those students, but we did it. Our retention increased, a 1.5% increase in retention. That's hard to do anytime. And in the pandemic, it's again unbelievable. Research dollars, $432 million, a new record in research. We also had profound effect across the state in helping, engaging with the state around helping against with the pandemic. There are too many things that I can't cover in my short time, but so many ways in which we helped. I'll mention one. All of our extension offices helped distribute masks, but I could go on and on about all the things we did. But most importantly, we set out to keep our students and our faculty safe. Tim shared with you some of the numbers with our campuses today. We tracked it every week last fall, and we compared the number of students that we had with COVID versus the state at large. The state at large, on average, and we compared to 17 to 25-year-olds. And on average, every week, our campus was 7 times safer than the state at large. So sometimes people would say, well, at what point would you send the students home? They're safer here than they are at home by 7 times. So we did a fantastic job of keeping our faculty and our staff and our students safe and managed to accomplish our goals. So that's an incredible year. So I'll argue that we didn't let the pandemic defeat us, it defined us. We regret, and it's deeply sad for anybody that had any poor health conditions or loss of life. There's no way to minimize that. But from a mission point of view, we accomplished some great things, and I think it will be something that we'll look back on in this decade and say, we faced a major challenge and we overcame it. 3 other things I just want to touch on, things that I think will be important to you. I heard Tim talk about vaccinations. I thought you might be interested to know that I've been lobbying for you with the governor and with the Department of Health on getting vaccines for our faculty at the same priority as K through 12. I had help. All the other LGI presidents, the chancellor of TBR and the president of the Takua schools all signed a letter with me about 3 weeks ago. We've done some follow-up calls, actually had a lunch or breakfast with the Commissioner of Health this past Wednesday. Still no luck. They're saying that K through 12 is different, that those students can't learn virtually as easily as our students can. That's why they're getting the vaccine versus us. And so there's only one or two decision makers in this process, and both of them are saying, no, we're not going to move you up. I'm going to continue to try, still looking for ways to maybe find other opportunities. As of today, it may be new news to you, Tim, but as of today on the TEMA call, it looks like they're going to let our health center on the Knoxville campus be a place for vaccines. So we'll be able to give vaccines on our campus. Now in other cities, like in Nashville, they have a wait list and they've all got X amount of vaccines. People have appointments based on their priority. If they don't show up, they've got X number of hours to get rid of these vaccines. So they start calling people on their wait list. So that's an avenue I'm going to pursue. No guarantee that that's going to work, but we're going to continue to find ways that we can move up in the vaccinations. I'll just maybe share one little anecdote or some anecdotes that I got from Lisa Piercy, our Commissioner of Health, that I thought was really interesting. So we all know our population of our state. We know the number of vaccines that we're getting. There's 400,000 people in the state of Tennessee over the age of 75. So you're doing the math and thinking, well, it's going to take a while for it to get to my group. But here's the thing it depends on how you look at it. It could be a positive, it could be disturbing. The uptake of taking the vaccines is shockingly low. Healthcare workers across the state of Tennessee are priority number one. Of all the healthcare workers that have been offered it so far across the state of Tennessee, only 50% are taking it. We've been offering the vaccines to the staff members at nursing homes and elderly care facilities. Only 30% of them are actually taking the vaccine. For a variety of reasons, they're just not taking it. Another anecdote that I thought was interesting, that all the emergency responders and frontline emergency workers, and one, I'll not share it, just in case somebody's maybe from that extension office on the line, but some rural West Tennessee county, 103 of their first responders were offered the vaccine. And of the 103, only 3 took the vaccine. I share that, one, it's very telling, but two, that when we look at do the math and look at how many vaccines are coming and then what the population is, I think we'll probably speed through those priorities sooner than we expect. So for those that do want to get the vaccine, I think that there's a probability that you'll get it much sooner than you might imagine. But it's very hard to predict, so I can't guarantee a time, but I just thought that was interesting to know. Big news, for reasons of faith, I guess Christmas is still number one on my list of days that I'm excited about. But from a present point of view, going away, and no disrespect to my family or my wife, but going away, my happiest day of the year when it comes to rewards and presents is the governor's state of the state. And it's this Monday. In case you didn't know, mark your calendar. This coming Monday, February 8th, the governor at 6 p.m. Central Time will be, I don't get invited this year, by the way, because of COVID. Usually I get to stand in the room with them. But now I can have my spreadsheets and be making notes while I'm listening to him speak. He will be announcing what he's going to put in the state's budget. I'm extremely optimistic about a lot of things that he should be talking about. Should be talking about $10 million for Oak Ridge Institute. Should be talking about fully funding the performance funding formula, which will give about $8 billion to our campus here in Knoxville. Very close to home. Last year, we asked for and got $2.3 million for our extension offices to add 32 new agents in the counties where we've been understaffed. And then we lost it with COVID. I'm extremely optimistic that we're going to see that on Monday night. And wherever I'm at, the minute you hear the governor say that he's doing that, know that I'm standing up doing a happy dance. But I'm very optimistic that that's going to be part of the budget. We also ask for $5.1 million to fund annually a new campus in southern Middle Tennessee. If you look at the map of the state of Tennessee, southern Middle Tennessee, 18 county area is a higher education desert. There is no four-year school, public four-year school in the whole region. As you would guess, because of that, they have the lowest college going rates and the lowest college graduation rates. It's very unfortunate for that part of the state. We, as you hopefully have heard, have offered to have the Martin Methodist campus, a small private college in Pulaski, join us and become the first new campus for the University of Tennessee in over 50 years. Some people asked, and our board members did as well, how does this benefit Tennessee? We're big, we got 52,000 students. What does an extra 700 do for us? It really doesn't, truthfully. It's not going to make us bigger or better that much, but it does help us do what our number one mission is, and that's serve the people of Tennessee. And that's part of the state that really needs our help. And so I think it's what can the University of Tennessee do for the state of Tennessee? Providing accessible, affordable education in that part of the state is going to transform that part of our state. The people in the area are so excited about it. We'll find out Monday night if the governor is going to put that in his budget. If he puts it in the budget, we've got overwhelming support from the legislature. So I feel really good about our chances of moving forward there. I've talked to Tim about partnering with Martin Methodist. They've got really strong programs in education and nursing. It's a very agricultural part of our state. And for us to try to find ways to partner with that campus to have maybe a 1 or 2 year program there that would then allow students to come transfer to Knoxville once they get started would be, I think could be an opportunity. There's a lot of opportunities that for us to explore once they are officially part of the University of Tennessee. So we're really excited about that. That's the 3 things I wanted to talk to you about. The vaccination. I want to share with you an update on the legislature. Again, stay tuned Monday, the 8th. And then we're excited about this new campus, and I'm hopeful that UTIA will have a big role to play in that as well. I can keep talking, but I'm going to stop so I can actually answer any questions that you might have.
Great, thanks a lot, Randy. Lisa, we'll see what questions might be coming in from our audience today.
Okay, we do have a couple. One is Randy. Do we know the name of the Martin Methodist campus, what the new name will be?
Yeah, great question. I should have said that, but we did lots of surveys. We had town hall meetings. We had focus groups with faculty, staff, and people in the region. And the overwhelming favorite was UT Southern. They wanted to be a regional campus. And people in Murray County and Wayne County and Lawrence County all wanted this to feel like it was part of them. So we decided to go with a regional name versus Pulaski or Giles County. So it'll be UT Southern. Now, that's not official. We actually had a board meeting a week ago in which I floated that idea by the board, but they couldn't really vote on it. We felt like it would be inappropriate for us to name a new campus without the governor actually having approved it yet. So we're going to wait for him to make his announcement on February 8th. And if that happens, then at our board meeting in February, or we might even actually wait till June, we'll officially call it UT Southern.
Great. Another question is, you had made the commitment to visit all the extension offices, which you did complete. And now understand you are doing the same with our research centers. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Did Hongwei ask that question?
No.
Well, whoever did, actually, in my—
It wasn't me.
I was actually wanting to talk about that, but I decided I just for brevity, I would leave it out. Yes, we're going to hit I am going to visit all the research centers, and just like visiting the extension offices, not only do I learn a lot, as I share when I go to the research centers, as I did with extension, my job is to serve you. And the only way I can serve you is to know you, is to know what your challenges and your opportunities are. And the way I can do that is to come visit. I haven't figured out how I can just do that by osmosis. I got to come out. Maybe some smarter presidents can do it elsewhere, but I just got to come, and I love it. It's been great. I got to go see the Northeast Ag Research Center, formerly known as Greenville, about, I guess it was in December. And actually, Tim and Hongwei set up this day where it was like, wow, I'm there for 7-8 hours. Do I really need to be there that long? I asked my assistant, Allison, really? That's a long time. And then I saw that we had a hayride. I thought, I don't really need to be like socializing. I need to go work and learn stuff. But if you're going around the 300 acres of a research center, probably the best way to do it is on the back of a hay wagon with 10 of your colleagues, going slowly, and so you can see things and talk. So it turned out to be just a great day, and you could easily spend that entire time plus some really seeing the place. It was so inspiring to see the people and the resources that we have, but they have some challenges. They need new equipment. We've got 40, I'm saying something that everybody here knows, we've got 30, 40, 50-year-old equipment trying to teach new science to people that have brand new equipment. And that doesn't really work. Our governor is committed to helping rural communities and helping agriculture. So we've got a strategy. And we plan on trying to get them after this session to come visit 2 or 3 of our research centers, walk them around, show them all the good things, all the great things that we're doing for the state, but also that we need some help. So in next year's budget, that's going to be one of our targets, is to try to get some additional funding for our research centers.
Great. Well, those were the questions for today. So Tim, I'll turn it back to you.
Great, thanks. I'm glad everyone was able to join us today. Randy, I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us again. And I really appreciate when you go visit the Rex, because that gives me an excuse to go along and get a free meal in conjunction with those visits. So I look forward to that. Randy, any final words you want to share before we get ready to wrap up here?
No, just continue to do the great work that you're doing. We're here to support you. If you've ever got a question, a challenge, don't hesitate to reach out to your Vice Chancellor, to Tim, or to me directly. It's randy@tennessee.edu. But whatever we can do to help support you and all the great work that you're doing, that's what we want to do. And looking forward to the second year of the greatest decade in the history of the University of Tennessee. It's going to be a great one.
Great, thanks, Randy. And I've said this before, some of you have heard me say it, but it's really nice to have a UT system president who not only knows we exist, but takes the time to learn about what we're doing, go out and meet our people, see our facilities, understand our needs, and then advocate for us at the state level. Don't ever want to take that for granted, and really want to thank Randy and his commitment to the Institute of Agriculture, as well as the whole rest of the UT system. So a couple of quick things as I wrap up. Our next scheduled Fireside Chat will be on March 5th, 2:00 p.m. Eastern Time. But as usual, if conditions change in such a way that we need to get together again, then we'll schedule an additional session. So watch your email. But at this point, our next regularly scheduled will be a month from now. Also, you should have received a reminder this week about communicating with government officials. And I just wanted to really take a moment to remind you that it is your right to communicate as a private citizen with our elected officials, and you should do that anytime you feel like you need to. But remember, it's your right to do that as a private citizen. Don't use your UT email address. Don't use university letterhead. Don't make those contacts speaking on behalf of the university or advocating for the university. It needs to reflect your personal views. So walk that line, ask your supervisor if you've got questions, or check with any of us. We want you to express your views and your voice, but we want you to do it with your right as a private citizen. So just a quick reminder there. As for COVID, it seems like the light at the end of the tunnel is getting a little brighter and maybe a little closer, but unfortunately it looks like solution and the end of it's still a ways off. However, I'm still absolutely certain we can continue to work through this. We'll get through it together, and we'll continue to do things productively and successfully, just as President Boyd described earlier. So keep up the good work, keep wearing your masks, stay home when you're sick, keep socially distant, wash your hands, and let's try to keep our numbers low and our spirits high, and we'll have a great year this year. So Lisa, I'll stop right there and let you conclude us today.
Well, thanks so much, Tim, for the information, and certainly thank you, Randy, for being with us today. It was great. And we will see everybody next month.
Great. Have a good weekend.